Hey guys, today we're going to do a short video on dividing radicals. There are three kinds of division problems that you are going to see here. You already can see some examples of those down at the bottom. Do not forget your questions box. You are welcome to put that here at the top or on the back. It is completely up to you. All right, the three types of division problems that you are going to see. Number one has terms under one radical. And it looks something like the square root of 6/30, where your entire fraction is under one radical. Number two, terms under two radicals. Like the square root of 10 over the square root of 40. Notice there is a radical in the numerator and denominator. And then type 3 is terms under one radical in the numerator or denominator. And that can look like 3 over the square root of 7 or the square root of 8 over 2. So these are the three types of problems we are going to focus on. They are not the only division problems, but they are the ones we are going to focus on here in our math class. You cannot have a radical in the denominator. If you do, you have to rationalize the denominator. That means we are going to multiply by the denominator over the denominator, and factor of 1 is multiplied by our entire expression, which will not change the value of our expression. Also going to show you a shortcut on rationalizing the denominator here in just a minute. Okay, so we have the square root of 4 over 8, which we know we can reduce to be the square root of 1 over 2. And that breaks down as the square root of 1 over the square root of 2, and the square root of 1 is 1 over the square root of 2. The problem is we have a radical in the denominator, so we multiply by the denominator over the denominator, and then multiply across to get the square root of 2 over 2. Now, I'm going to tell you a quick shortcut referring to this step here. To rationalize without writing it all out, you do the top times the bottom over the bottom with no radical. So top times the bottom over the bottom with no radical, square root of 2 over 2. Problem number 2. I'm going to switch colors here to make sure you can see the difference between 1 and 2. We are again going to reduce, and when we reduce our x's, we subtract. So this is going to be the square root of 16 over the square root of x, which is 4 over the square root of x, top times the bottom over the bottom with no radical. Problem number 3, our b's cancel. So we have the square root of 2 over the square root of 3, top times the bottom over the bottom with no radical is the square root of 6 over 3. Problem number 4. One thing I want us to go back to these two lines before examples, and I want us to write this statement in. This will have something to do with number 4, number 5, number 6, and number 9. You cannot simplify terms unless they are both under the radical or both not under the radical. So as you look at problem number 4, 18 and 9, if 9 went under a radical, we would be able to just reduce those, but because it is, you cannot. So we're going to do what we know in terms of simplifying that radical there on the bottom. We're going to keep the 18 as it is for now. The square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of m cubed is m square root m. So here's where that shortcut is going to be just a little bit different. I am going to go ahead and reduce these. So I have 6 over m square root m. Then I'm going to rationalize multiplying by the square root of m over the square root of m. And my answer is 6 square root m over m squared. Remember, the square root of m times the square root of m is m. Problem number 5, I have a radical in the denominator, so I'm going to multiply by that radical. Remember, it's a factor of 1, so it's a radical on top, radical on the bottom, and I get 5 square root 5 over 2 times 5, which is the square root of 5 over 2. Those 5s cancel because you are multiplying. 6 is a good shortcut problem. Top times the bottom over the bottom with no radical, and reduce to get 2 square roots of 3. Remember, if you have questions, jot them in your questions box at the top of your page or on the back. Number 7, square root of 64 is 8. So this one's real easy, 1 over 8. 1 over square root of 8, remember that's 1 over the square root of 4 times the square root of 2, which is 1 over 2 square roots of 2. Rationalize, and you get the square root of 2 over 4. And number 9, the square root of 12 is the square root of 4 times the square root of 3, which is 2 square roots of 3 over 4. The 2 and the 4 reduce, and you end up with the square root of 3 over 2. Don't forget, if you have questions, please make sure those get into your questions box so we can answer those first thing the next time I see you guys in class. Have a great day.